Hi everybody, we're just arrived in Falkland, which is a lovely little village in Fife, and we're going to have a wee look around. Come with us and we'll see what we can find.
Falkland is located in the very heart of Fife. It's about halfway between Dundee and Edinburgh. Alas, if you want to get a train there, you'd have to get a time machine first and go back to 1958 when they stopped running. It's quite funny now that Bex has actually started talking to the camera, because not ordinarily in real life she never shuts up. You point a camera at her, she goes dead quiet. Nothing to say, Rebecca?
I'm just going to go and have a wee little look in the Rusty Fox, which looks like a nice wee gift shop. It's lovely. Lovely things.
These shops are all really nice. They're Aladdin's caves of things that you don't actually ever need but might quite like to have. Well, Bex would categorise that shop as nice wee things. This is a really nice wee place. I've forgotten the name of it. Where are we? Falkland. Falkland is a really nice wee place. It's got lots of really nice wee buildings, like that one in front of us, and it's got lots of links to Scottish history. There's a lot of fairly pivotal moments in Scottish history have happened in this wee village, and that's because of the presence of the Royal Palace. And there's no prizes for guessing the Royal Palace in Falkland is called, ta-da, Falkland Palace. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think that might be the palace there. I've never seen it before, but I think that is it. And there is the prices. It is 13 quid to get in, unless you've got a family, in which case it's only 30. It's quite an impressive old building, isn't it? It's no idea of any of the history of this. I'm just got to film it and then waffle and then do some research and then try and pad it out and edit it like I know what I'm talking about, so wish me luck. Oh, there's an ice cream shop, there's an ice cream shop, there's an ice cream shop. This has got to be one of the most ornate architectural places that we've ever been. There's little sculptures and little statues everywhere. I mean, houses with lions outside them and fancy bits over your front door. This is such a cool wee village. So that is the visitor centre for the National Trust for the Falkland Palace, and that is Bex looking like she does not want to pay 13 quid to go and look at a palace. The gift shop is quite cool. Are we going to buy anything? Almost definitely not.
I might buy this though. Very true. I'm enjoying the sunshine and looking for a cup of coffee, as always.
And the good thing about places like this is they are starting points for other adventures, places that one day we are going to explore and take you good people with us. Places like Strathmiglo and Auchtermuchty and Fruchie.
Maybe not Glenrothes though.
Yeah, no, you don't want to see Glenrothes. You really don't want to see Glenrothes. I used to always think when you saw a window like that, see that fake window there that's just painted on, it was to do with something called the window tax, but apparently it actually isn't. It's nothing to do with the window tax, that is a myth. Whilst the window tax did exist, most of the time you see these bricked up windows, they were just done like that by the architect to keep the building looking symmetrical. Everywhere you look here, they're really cool buildings, because obviously there is the palace and there is Key House, which dates back to 1713. That is pretty old and quite nice. Apart from the cars and the inevitable wheelie bins, this place does not look like it has changed much in the past couple of 100 years. It probably looked exactly like this, as I say, just with fewer cars and none of those flaming wheelie bins that blight the urban landscape. So that's that building that we saw from the other side of the road. That is called Maspy House. I think from the booking.com things in the window, you can book it as an Airbnb type of thing. And there's another really old building that dates back to, I think that's 1777. There's a 17GL4 something BD 77. So that over there is the townhouse, deli and bakery. You wouldn't be surprised if once that was the prison and the administrative centre and everything for the wee village. Now it's a bakery, and there's a Bex walking past wondering if they do a coffee. Hi Bex! And there's a truck going to go past, so I'm going to lose what I'm talking about. In all these villages, in all these towns, the biggest thing is usually the church. So that is the Falkland Parish Church of Scotland. It's quite a big and impressive looking building. We might go for a wee swatch around the outside of that and see what we can see. The truck that drove past me in the main street is now trying to park here. I don't think the driver is a very good driver, because he's been at it for about 5 minutes and there's lots of beeping and reversing and forwarding and reversing and forwarding, and he's not getting any closer to, well, anywhere. Another really old house with a name, the Fountain House, and then there's a really cool tower on that corner, and down here there's a little close, or if you're in Yorkshire you call it a ginnel, we'll call it a wee alleyway. I wonder if it goes down to, oh, I think it just goes down to some people's houses with the inevitable wheelie bins. Oh no, there's a path down there. Shall we go down that path and see what's down there? Let's go for an explore before Bex says, "Where are you going? I don't think you're allowed down there, stop." If you go down some stairs today, you're going to see something that we don't know what it is yet. Oh look, you go down the stairs and it takes you to more wheelie bins and another road. That was exciting. That is 30 seconds of your life that you'll never get back. Oh, she's being brave this time. She's assuming there's not a sign that says no public access like there was on a recent visit where I got shouted at for telling her it was safe to walk down a wee path, and I knew there was a sign that said you weren't allowed to walk down the wee path, and she didn't. This is quite cool. This building used to be 2 houses, and local legend has in one of those houses on the upper floor 13 people, a family of 13 lived. That must have been quite cosy, and I bet the toilet arrangements weren't great. Oh, she's off into another one of those little boutique shops, so we are going to keep going looking for more cool things to look at, unless you guys want to see boutique shops, in which case Bex can start her own channel of boutique shopping. Because the thing is, she goes into all these boutique shops, but she doesn't actually usually ever buy anything. She goes and looks and says, oh, that's nice, I might go back for that, and then never does. When you walk around this place, you see how little set dressing it need for something like Outlander to be filmed here. You just have, get rid of the cars, hide the street lights, and it would be authentic 1700s Scotland. This little house has been restored in association with the National Trust for Scotland. I'm trying to read what it says above that door. It's there's definitely a 7 there, so 17 something, but no idea what. It must be an interesting place to be a postman, because every house has a name and nothing's got a number that I can see. That is Drysdale House, which has got a really nice entrance. The flight of stairs goes up to the front door, which is up there, so that's quite cool. And this is just heading back up this wee street. There's lots and lots of really cool buildings, blah blah blah. I keep saying lots of really cool buildings, but that's what there is here. That's what there is to see. If you don't like really nice wee buildings, this is not a place for you. If you don't like pretty Scottish history, this is also not a place for you. If you like both those things, and I guess you do if you're watching this channel, then Falkland is definitely worth putting on your visit list. That's the wee hoose there, so that's obviously a wee hoose because it's no very big. Or it's a place you go if you need a wee. Yeah, that would be a word of the day. You know what a wee is? No, okay. Blair Cottage, 1874. I'm going to stop just reading things off the front of houses now because it must be getting not the best of things to watch, but we'll see if we can find anything interesting for you guys to see. We did just walk past something that was the Falkland Old Cemetery, and old cemeteries are definitely always worth a wee visit, so we'll go up here a little bit further, turn round and head back down the hill. Hopefully Bex will be finished in her little boutique shop that she's in. I don't know if she's bought anything, I'm guessing probably not, but let's head back down and find out before we all go for a wander into the cemetery. We really love it that you people are quite liking the things that we're doing. We get some really nice feedback, some really nice comments, so thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys so much for enjoying what we do. It gives us an excuse to come out and do it. We wouldn't be here, I would not be walking about Falkland talking to myself if I hadn't met you guys, so thank you very much. The inscriptions above the doors in this village are so cool. Those are marriage lintels, and to find out what a marriage lintel is, what we need is a wee bit of history. Marriage lintels show the date of a marriage and the initials of the people who got married, and they are a status symbol. They show that these two families have now united and this is the property that they own. Although some of them are getting on for 300 or 400 years old, researchers have actually been able to place a name to these initials because these are people with money, they would have status, and they would have left their mark on the world. It's quite interesting to see how these places are being coped with by people with cars, because cars were never on the people who built these little houses' agenda, because they hadn't been invented yet. It wouldn't be for several hundred years. One of the disadvantages of having a dog like De Niro is you go to blow your nose on what you think is a tissue and it is a poo bag. I have lots of poo bags in my pockets and no tissues. Found Bex. I'm going to ask her if she wants to go and visit the cemetery. I can guess what the answer will be.
You go to the cemetery and I'm going to go into this shop.
Okay, this is better than going shopping. Let's go and visit the old cemetery. So this is Falkland's Old Cemetery. Lots of very old gravestones. It's quite a nice little place actually. It's obviously no longer in use. There must be a new cemetery somewhere else, but that's quite pretty, isn't it? Quite a nice place to come for a wee look round. This is really cool. This is one of those picnic table tombstones, which I'm sure is not what it's called, but we got our heads around the iconography on these a little bit when we were in the sky. The skull and crossbones just remind you that you are going to die, and the hourglass reminds you that time is running out and it's finite, so live your life as best you can and be a good person. This is really smart. I do like these old graveyards because you always see things that you think are occulty and stuff, and it turns out they're actually not. Again, there is another little tombstone there that's got the same thing. It's got the skull and crossbones because you are mortal, and it's got the hourglass because your time is running out. And at the top it's got is that a Masonic sort of symbol? It's a set of calipers and little axe of some sort. No idea. More stuff for us to research. A lot of these things, the bit at the top was the deceased person's profession or trade, so that could have been what he did. He could have been a draftsman or an engineer or an architect, or it could be nothing to do with that. It could be Masonic, or it could be complete nonsense that I'm talking. I have no idea, but I think that's why you like this channel. We try not to be too accurate. Accuracy is totally overrated. Oh, that's really cool. This is another one, and I bet we get, yes, there is an hourglass there, skull and crossbones there, and some more crossbones on this side. It's quite heavily eroded. There would have been more stuff on that, I guess, but that's nice, isn't it? That's a nice thing to look at. Right, I'm not going to bore you with too many more details from the graveyard. I'm just heading across here because this one set into the wall looked quite interesting from a distance. So what can we see on this? It's got a cherub and a skull, and yeah, that's different, isn't it? Every gravestone really should have somebody's profession on it, because these days a lot of them would be like YouTuber or unemployed, which is basically the same thing. But this guy was a shoemaker, so he was making shoes for the people of Falkland back in the 1700s. That's quite cool. That's a bit of dating evidence, if you like it. It's 1683 on that little tombstone there. And the thing below, at first I thought was crossbones, but it's not. That would have been whatever his profession was. It's like a scalpel and I don't know, was he possibly a barber? Maybe that's like a shaving thing and a sharpening thing for your blade? I don't know. 1683, whoever it was, it's a memorial to somebody who is long forgotten, but his tombstone's still here, and it's very nice. Yep, like we said before, this is a nice wee place, but I suppose I'd better get back down the hill because Bex will be waiting for her coffee. I assume she's not had as much of an interesting time in the wee shop as I've had in the graveyard. Right, that's enough graveyard for anyone. It's time to head back down to the wee coffee shop on the main street for coffee and perchance a wee cake. And as you can probably see in the background, it's actually started raining, so Bex will be standing there getting wet. And then she'll look at me because it's my fault, because she said, do you think I need a coat? And I said, no. But I was putting my own coat on. You think she'd know better by now than to trust me. Oh, see what I see up that hill. Let's go up here. I know I'm going back down to meet Bex, but let's head back up here because that looks awfully like it might be a war memorial, but don't tell her. I don't know why I'm filming myself running up the hill, because I'll probably just edit this bit out, but this is up to what I think is the war memorial. Oh yeah, this is the war memorial. That actually looks like quite a modern one, although it's got First World War, Second World War and other conflicts. Some RAF gentlemen who died somewhere, no idea where. Again, research possibly, or we might just not bother, but there you go. Oh, and look at that wee road up there. Right, I'm going to have to find Bex, have a coffee and then come back up here for a look, because there's a lot of stuff here that we haven't seen yet. I hope we're not boring you, but this is quite a pretty place. So heading back down to the square, that is the church, and this is a really cool fountain, which is like the icon of Falkland. If you've seen a Falkland t-shirts or Falkland's little sort of emblems everywhere, it's usually this little fountain, and you can see why it's very smart. Bex is obviously feeling quite cold because she was asking about getting a cup of coffee and where we could go, and did not look over her shoulder. There is a Campbell's Coffee House and Eatery, so let's go there for a wee coffee. As you can see, Bex is on coffee autopilot. Coffee pilot. We're quite disappointed, but the coffee place has actually just closed. It's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is the Covenanter Hotel for our coffee. So we have found a wee warm and cosy coffee place. We will let you know what it's like. I'm sure it's going to be very nice. Although, if the truth be told, I'm more a sort of mug of instant kind of man. All the houses with the 1700s, well, there's one from the 1600s. Some of the stuff in this village is very, very old. 1764 there, 1660 something back there. It's so cool. And it's a really nice place just to walk about. There's some really old buildings there, and oh wow, look at that. That's the old Smithy. How cool is that wee square? We are really, really liking Falkland. This was one of Bexy's better ideas coming here. Oops, we were just looking at a window that had some old ginger beer bottles in it, and somebody stuck their head out and said, this is a private house. It's like, well yeah, you shouldn't look like a shop then. And this is another nice wee road up here. I've no idea what it would have been back in the day, but it's very pretty today. It's probably also people's houses, so we're probably getting shouted at for walking about, talking to ourselves and filming. But this is back streets of Falkland. Again, not really designed for vehicular traffic. This would have been for a man on his horse. Oh, and look at that great big hill up there. I think that is that Ben Lomond? We are going to go up that one day. Well, me and De Niro, because Bex will probably say I am not going up there. There's no coffee shops and there's no boutique places to spend no money by not buying anything. After meeting that nice lady down there who told us it was a private house, people here probably aren't very keen on tourists because they are gawping in their windows. But then, if you don't want people gawping in your windows, don't have things on display facing out the way. So we've wandered around the town and we're now heading back down towards where we think we parked Mabel, but neither of us can actually remember. We've parked her somewhere down here, but we're not really sure where. And we'll have to find her because De Niro is in the back and probably wants to get out for a wee stretch of the legs. The tea room and chocolate shop, the nice houses, the Becks, but no sign of the van. Where is Mabel? Well, the good news is we have found the car park and we hope Mabel is still here, because if somebody's stolen Mabel, they've also stolen De Niro, and I wouldn't mind them stealing Mabel, but they're not getting our dug. And it's just as well that we found Mabel, because we're on a deadline to get De Niro to his holiday home, because we're taking him to the kennels and then tomorrow we're going to Edinburgh and we are going on a cruise. We are in Edinburgh, but we're not doing the usual tourist sites. We're actually going to go for a wee walk along the Union Canal because we are going on a really posh cruise. Now, some people, when they have a really posh cruise, they'll go to the Seychelles or round the world. We're going to go about 1 kilometre up the Union Canal and then back again. This is Harrison Park in Edinburgh, and today is the 1st of April. I'm not sure when you'll see this, but for us it's the 1st of April, and you can tell it's the 1st of April because it's now springtime and it's absolutely freezing. Yeah, we're desperately waiting for summertime and it's not happening. Come on, summertime, where are you?
Freezing.
Freezing. For those of you that have watched our video on the Kelpies, this is the Union Canal that goes from here to Falkland. So that's what it looks like in Edinburgh, and again, this was once an open sewer, but they spent a lot of money making it all pretty. There is a host of golden daffodils looking all pretty for the 10 minutes that they look all pretty. We do like canals because they're always a nice green oasis in the middle of a city. I mean, there's a really nice barge and a really pretty church, and this is the middle of Edinburgh. Usually when Bex does this, she's chasing coffee, but today we're going to go and have some gin. So this is Bex autopilot for the gin cruise. De Niro is staying in his holiday home. He's at the kennels today and he's been nice and warm in his nice warm bed and his nice warm kennel. I think he might have the best of the deal because it's not very warm where we are. And very soon we'll be cruising along this very canal. That doesn't work because you can't see the canal, all you can see is me and Bex. I'll have to do that bit again with her on the other side. Look at that, that was a seamless edit. Well, very soon we'll be cruising along this lovely canal you can see behind us. It's very pretty. No, it's not, but it's a canal and it's got a boat and there will be gin.
Gin and canapes.
Oh, canapes. Actually, we paid extra for the canapes. Now, I don't actually know what a canapé is. It's the bit that goes on top of an aeroplane, I think. So I don't know why they'll have aeroplane bits on this boat, but we'll soon find out. It's always strange to think that the towpath that we're walking along here used to have big horses pulling big boats into and out of the heart of the city. There was boats carrying rubber products, there was things for the brewery, grain coming in, beer going out. This would have been a busy, busy highway and probably not a very pleasant one. And where once there was mighty horses, now there's optimistic ducks. Sorry guys, we don't have any bread. We're just going to take a little deviation from the canal to show you what's on the site, where the breweries and the factories used to be, apart from those houses there. We're just heading down here to Fountain Park, which is a strange name because it's a big leisure centre. It has neither a fountain nor a park. But it does have a kebab shop. I better stop gibbering, we've got things to do tonight. I cannot be filming all day. We'll have to come back here and do a proper Scotland on a shoestring visit to this part of Edinburgh. So this used to be canal side, it used to be a brewery and a factory, but now it's a big leisure centre. There's some old houses and lots of new student houses. We've just come down a little bit from the canal, we're now going to head back up. If you ask anybody from Edinburgh what they can remember about this area when it was a brewery, it would almost definitely be the smell. It was a very distinctive smell of hops and it was actually quite nice. I quite liked it. I'm guessing the people that lived in these houses may not have been quite so keen, but if they worked in the brewery they didn't have very far to walk to their job. Those new houses that we saw a little bit earlier are actually student flats, which are fairly new and probably very expensive, and not a place where local people will ever get to live. And in front of the flats is that open-air gym equipment that we always see, but we've never actually ever seen anybody using. One day we will see somebody using that, and we will film them so they know that it's not just a massive waste. One thing that this redevelopment of the canal has meant is what you can see here. The canal boats are back. So if you want city centre living with a bit of a twist, then a canal boat could be the very thing for you. We love them. Well, that's quite nice. We used to call that graffiti, but now apparently it's street art. A man and his wee pet-friendly worm. And here we have, in the middle of the city, the canal boats that people are living on, or you can rent out as Airbnb. And over there are some beach huts, despite the fact there are no beaches. It's not quite the same as the beach huts at Scarborough.
I think they'd be called canal huts.
There's some old tenements that are really cool. There's a very old church, I think, which is very nice. And then there's these, which are quite modern and just not offy bonny. Offy what? Yeah, oh yeah, that's time for our word of the day. And obviously this is the heart of a city, so they have roads as well as a canal, and this is a Leamington lift bridge, which is a really cool piece of engineering. The road section lifts up so barges can sail underneath. It's quite clever. I don't know if it still works, but it's quite a pretty thing to look at. Well, I say a pretty thing to look at. It's a pretty thing if you like oldie worldy engineering, but anybody who follows this channel knows that we very, very much do. By which I mean, of course, I very, very much do. Bex and Didiro, just come along and look at me. If you've seen our Falkland video, you'll have seen about this, the canal trail that goes from Edinburgh to Glasgow. One day we'd like to do that in our little kayak. The canal actually used to go further into the middle of town to a place called Hopetoun Basin, but they bricked all that over because they needed more space to build houses. So the canal was shortened, Lochran Basin became the end of it, and that's what you can see just down there, where we're going to go for a wee look. Oh, I know I said Hopetoun Basin. To give it its correct name, it is Port Hopetoun. Lord Hopetoun was a big landowner around here who made a lot of money from the coal and obviously wanted his name on everything so people knew what a big deal he was, having a port named after him that was just a wee canal terminus in Edinburgh. It's very clever. It's all operated hydraulically, but it has massive counterweights, those big black things up there that offset the weight, so the hydraulic rams only have to lift 6 tonnes each, so that's 12 tonnes in total, although the whole thing weighs 40. It's all very clever the way they did it. One of the biggest industries in this area used to be the North British Rubber Company that was absolutely huge and made Wellington boots for soldiers in the First World War, the Second World War. They made hoses, they made, things made out of rubber. Use your imagination. Rubber things. Okay, I know I said use your imagination about rubber things, but keep it clean. I do quite like the idea of living on a canal boat, but I've probably got far too much junk and I don't think there's an awful lot of space.
You junk?
I hope those cars have all got good handbrakes or a little bit of accidentally leaving it in reverse, and it'll definitely be going for a wee swim in the canal. What better way to fill the hour and a half till our cruise leaves than by going to a pub and having a wee drinky and something to eat. That'll pass the time. This whole area is unrecognisable compared to how it was a few years ago. It used to be derelict and slum, and now, as you can see, there's building work happening everywhere. Lots of new houses, lots of new hotels, and lots of new facilities for the city. And there's a couple of self-catering boats, which are really handy if you want to go out and have a party in the middle of Edinburgh. The only bad thing is, if you come back drunk, there's a lot of canal you could potentially fall into, which might not be such a good thing, but it would certainly sober you up very quickly. And here's some really nice little swan statues. They're not saying anything because obviously they are mute swans. Oh dear, I'm in trouble. I'm filming statues of swans and Bex is here wanting to go to the pub. We are in the Fountain Bridge Fox restaurant in Edinburgh. It's really nice, but Bex is trying to decide what she wants from this very small menu. This may take some time. She is quite famously indecisive. This part of Edinburgh is another one that is unrecognisable from even a few years ago. It's all getting dragged up market, which is a good thing if you want a nice dinner, a bad thing if you want to buy a house. Yep, it's time for a wee cider, and I've got to resist the temptation to steal the glass because that's quite a nice cider glass. There seems to be a theme on our adventures of taxidermy. This is a pub, quite a modern pub with an oldie worldy vibe, and people think the best way to get the oldie worldy vibe is to put some stuffed animals. I don't know if there's much of a market for stuffed animals. They're probably all bought now by people that decorate pubs. Yeah, not brave enough to ask the guys behind the bar if I can film their little fox, but you can imagine a stuffed fox, if you will, in your own mind, then you'll know what it looks like. Unless you don't know what a fox looks like, in which case I'll shut up because I'm just gibbering and now I'm getting laughed at.
Not laughing.
How was your soup?
Nice, thank you.
No, how was your soup?
It was super.
Yay! And you thought I was responsible for all the really bad jokes, but she has got just as many.
Not true.
Although there's not much left of the area's industrial past, there are still little traces like that, the doorway to the old Edinburgh meat market that is now, as you can see, long gone. Bex has had her cider with her bowl of soup, and now she is striding off because she knows there are gin and canopies.
This way.
Interesting canal related fact, they were actually a very energy efficient way to move things because a horse could pull 50 times as much stuff in a boat as it could in a cart, so that's quite a lot of things moving quite quickly. We are looking for a boat called the Lochran Bell, and I think that's it in front of us, and there's Bex glowering at me because I'm filming. Oh no, she's smiling, she's pretending to smile, but she's going, put that camera away or I'm going to stick it up your nose. And there is our glorious chariot for today. This is the Lochran Bell, which is run by a charity and is used by this little gin cruise thing as a base, and you get on the boat and you can sail up the canal and back again and drink some gin. Sounds like a good way to spend a day to us. Well, we're on the boat on the gin cruise, so we will see you again after we're finished, because I'm not allowed to film it while we're going, or she'll shout at me.
Yeah, well.
At the halfway point in the gin cruise, and it's getting better and better, but that's because we're drinking more and more gin. Cheers! That's our shore leave cancelled. We are back on the boat.
What is that there?
I don't want to think, but that is my dinner.
Canopies, your canopies.
This is the canopies we're talking about. It's not part of an aeroplane, it's actually somebody's dinner. My dinner. Yeah, we are, I say we, but I have come to the sharp end of the boat because Bex won't come out with me. I really, really wanted to reenact that scene from Titanic, because there's the sharp end, but she won't. She's sitting there saying, don't you dare embarrass me, and I'm out here, no doubt, embarrassing her, which is, well, we're married, I'm allowed to. Yeah, so like on our ferry across the sky, if I want to do the Titanic reenactment, I have to do it on my own, which is not quite the same, and also there's no icebergs here, so I'm pretty sure any reenactment would not be authentic. The Union Canal is not the Atlantic, and she's sitting in there thinking, he's talking to himself, and all the people in there can probably hear me, so I better go back in and look like I want to be with my wife, which I do, obviously, but she didn't want to be with me when I came here, so meh. This is so cool. None of the other people on the cruise have come out here to stand at the bow and look at the canal, because maybe they've seen the canal before. I don't know, but you can tell how fast we're going, because we are going along in the cruise boat and we are about to be overtaken by some people that are out for a run. This is not the fastest boat in the world, but it's a very nice way to spend an afternoon. Okay, this is on the cruise boat, and this probably isn't ideal television, but that is the flush mechanism for the toilet. And if you flush the toilet, and there's nothing in there, don't worry, if you flush the toilet, somewhere underneath you a fish goes and ending on a note of toilet humour, that was our gin cruise done. So Bex and I decided we were going to take a walk down into the middle of town, and we were going to get something to eat and maybe a wee drink in a little place that we know, a quiet, intimate little setting, not. That is the Cali Picture House. It used to be a picture house, and then it was a music venue, and it was very popular, and it was much lamented when it shut down, but now it's got a new lease of life as a Wetherspoons pub, selling cheap beer and cheap food en masse. Every time we go away somewhere for a park run, we always try to find out if there's a Wetherspoons nearby. They do great breakfasts, they do great evening meals, and they do very, very reasonably priced alcohol. Yeah, was not expecting that. This is some sort of vodka and fresh orange. It is bright green. So it's either a vodka and fresh orange, or it is nuclear waste. Either way, I am drinking it. Several hours later, and it all looks a bit different, but no less impressive. I do love all these little windows, all these little vignettes of life that you see. It's really cool, and this is a really nice place. And there's the view up the canal, and we are walking that way back to Mabel.
Seen the reflections of the windows in the water.
It's really cool, isn't it?
There's houses down there, doesn't it?
Yes, underwater houses. We could go and live in one of those.
Can you get that in a picture, or does it not show?
I am filming it just now. This is the canal in the pitch dark, and we're trying to get back to Mabel the camper van, which may or may not be successful because it is quite dark. So we will see how we do. If this is the last ever episode of Scotland on a Shoestring, one of us fell into the canal, and the other one was so bereft by grief that they could not continue. The only problem with walking along a canal in the pitch black is you're not really sure what is path and what is canal. Okay, there's some lights, but they're not as good as they might be, and we're hoping the shiny bit is the canal and the not shiny bit is the path. If we're wrong, you will shortly hear a splash. But assuming none of us fall into the canal, we'll see you again soon for more Scotland on a Shoestring. Now, night night, we are heading back to Mabel.